So I'm gonna try to make up for some lost time here, and spend time today, just looking at a lot of apps. And try to get ourselves, through, if we can, through the Renaissance. Now, this is, and Santiago's not here, but I had a conversation with him about this. I don't know if you've had professors who, like, they want to get through everything, and so they give you like 30 seconds of like, 100 things. That's my inclination, actually. I'm gonna try to control that and see if we can get, 5 or 6 maps. And go deeply into them. And also, been thinking about the talk that we're gonna have from Chet Duzer, a guy I know who's a great presenter, looking slowly at maps. I'm sure he's gonna teach me and you guys some things that, I'm probably violating or doing wrong in the way that I'm doing things now, but whatever, we'll learn. Okay, so yeah, pull out your computers because I'm gonna want you to, be able to look at these maps yourself on, Pixium or wherever they are. Let me frame this, couple ways to frame this. So, you guys went through some early maps and early map ideas. Hey, guys. Um, and so I want to at least acknowledge these maps. I want to also encourage you to take a look again of this document. We talked about this, the Middle Ages, which by the way, with the Middle Ages, which by the way, are pejoratively called what?
Yeah.
And why do you think they are called that?
The alleged lost learning that could not all the Western empire.
Yeah, and why is Dark Ages, well, who said it, by the way?
Kind of give. Wait, what's the name?
I think it's Petrarch.
Oh,
Is it Petrarch, like a 14th century
That might be
scholar?
right, yeah.
Like, you sort of imagine realizing, oh my gosh, the last 1,000 years has been very different from what we're learning now. So why is Dark Ages a pejorative term? You should try this on some of your professors, like ask them that question. Yeah,
I mean, it's like implied that there's like a stunting of scientific advancement. Like we're all just like staying at the same technology level, nothing's really changing.
I would argue that it's a stunting of cultural, that by calling it the Dark Ages, you're taking Gothic art and saying that's part of dark. I'd like to hear a scientific person say that technology actually was advanced during the Middle Ages. Do you buy that?
I don't really know that much. So.
Yeah, okay. Did you have something?
Oh, I was actually gonna ask what pejorative meant.
Negative, a bad word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say it's like also kind of, I mean, I know it's usually used to refer to that period in like European history, but like there was pretty like in similar like time span, there was a lot of scientific and cultural advancement in the Islamic world as what that like, for example, like finding again all these,
Yeah.
Greek and classical texts and working off of them.
It was incredible, the Islamic Golden Age from 750 to 1250. They copied, there was a whole translation movement in Baghdad to take the knowledge of the Western world. So, of course, when anyone says Dark Ages, they should be talking about European and not Islamic world. Okay, so for those of you who came here, we're gonna try, somewhat based on our conversation, to hit maybe 5 maps up through the Renaissance and look at them carefully and talk about them. But I do want to acknowledge all of this, all of the maps that are on this list. I would highly encourage you to take a look at these things. This document, again, in case you haven't made this link, this document links to the map makers document. So that's this one. And this is where I've got a page or two about each one of the most of, that's frankly, next year, I'll have this document updated with like a little summary of every one of the maps that's on the most important map list. So we're gonna cover the green ones today. That's where I would like to go. If anybody has anything about any of the other items, I'm happy to, I know you guys looked at them. I'm happy to stop in on those. I guess what I would say is from the Greeks thought that the Greeks and everyone else thought the world was flat in the year roughly 600 BC. And by 200 BC, I think it was widely acknowledged that the earth was round. And Eratosthenes had done some, what now appears to be simple algebra, to figure out roughly the diameter of it. And then the Roman Empire falls, that's all in Alexandria. And this map here, Cosmos and everything that comes after that is all from the Middle Ages. And there's a regression. There's a belief in the flat earth. There's also maps are made of maps are of faith and place. And we're going to talk about that in a couple of the maps that we look at. Maps are not just, this will be wild, but it's not just places. It's creatures and okay. So we may talk a little bit about the devices that propelled map making technology, which really work from, I think compass is probably the first one, from like 1,000 or 1,100. Papyrus and paper, however, papyrus was earlier, and you can use this thing to guide yourself about that. So I think the general term for medieval maps is mappa mundi. TO maps are a portion of that. We saw one yesterday. You guys remember which one that was? It was the first, when you walk in the door, the first one. And it was made by Isidore. So again, they have this epic map there. It was just that little one on a page, but it looked a lot like this.
The TO.
That's a TO map, yeah. Yep. But mappa mundi are also TO maps, and we're going to look at a couple of those here today. There's one called the Salter map and another called the Hereford map. So that all gets you, this gets you from, I think these TO maps were like it could have been 7th, 8th, 9th century. And then, and by the way, we're in Europe here. None of this is Asia. We're going to talk about that separately. And then and that takes you through the early Renaissance. And then we're going to talk about, well, Portland maps are also in the late Middle Ages. Williams has a copy of a bunch of Portland maps made in 1660. And then we're going to talk about some Renaissance maps. Yeah.
Portland maps again, just maps that only show like ports.
Portland maps are of Portuguese origin, and they're all mostly Mediterranean focused, and they were used for navigation. Daniel Fouch said that it was dead reckoning, but he called them rum lines, and a rum line implies constant bearing, and so I'm pretty sure that they made use of the compass. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, rum means like direction.
Rum means it's a straight line on a map, and it means if you're standing where a rum line, is if you're standing on the one end of a rum line, you can look at the map and point who's orienteered. It's that. You can point your compass on the map to the line, right? And look, and that's where you're supposed to go. Navigation device. But they became, and somebody said this yesterday, they became these stylistic things. And you didn't want to have a map that didn't have the lines on it. And the Williams exhibit is all about that. So they're beautiful maps. I don't know if anybody knows Simon Kent, but he helped shoot these during late stages of COVID, and they're beautiful. And you can go there and see these. But they were not for navigating. They were for teaching somebody about Europe and what's where.
Right.
Okay. So I want to go back now, and I said I was gonna, we're gonna go into maps. So I want you to go to, you can click on this link, or you can go to the playground, and it's gonna get you to the same place. And I'd like to spend, I think, listen, I'm gonna try something here. I'd like you to spend 2 or 3 minutes by yourself looking at this map. And by the way, there's a page after it that is a bit of a key. These line drawings are really wonderful and actually predict in the future, all these old maps are gonna have drawings like this that sort of help you decode the map. So I would, I'd spend 2 or 3 minutes and look at it. You can look at Wikipedia, learn about it, okay? And then we'll do that by ourselves. And then I'm probably gonna let you guys talk to each other a little bit about it. And then we'll circle up. Is everybody there? Anybody not there? Hey, Sarah, can you pass the name cards to Travis and Josh? Just pass it out.
Thank you.
Someone should look at who the history of this map, like who made it. And that's like that question all by itself is a bit of a rabbit hole, and it's a really interesting one. You can use use Google Lens.
So it's kind of like Google Maps, but for the Roman Empire, so.
I'm guessing that's mostly intended to depict the roads, right? Cause it's not exactly faithful to the.
I put a link in the image text on this main map here for this guy named Jake Ford. You might want to check that out.
Water. This is. Able to. Station.
So now what I'd like you to do is actually, with your neighbor, discuss what you saw in the map and let's. I'll let you form your groups naturally here.
It's just the road, it's there, so.
In fact, a lot.
I didn't know this.
Like, I was like,
That's right.
So I don't. But like, I. But like, I think it's funny that like, kind of.
Trying to find their names.
Dirty was.
Because it's not exactly showing you like.
That's what century time.
Like, at least kind of. I see, oh yeah, that's.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I think Iris called out. I'm not sure which one is the next one. I know. Yeah, they called out.
You asked about the actual, and how big was the actual, and I just. Like, what was the?
The size differences.
I strongly encourage you to use an AI tool.
That round.
Yeah, that fit.
Each of them.
And the first one.
Has like this road base.
Well, that was like,
Modern day Iraq, and then I was just so focused on the Mediterranean that like I hit Antioch and then I said going back in the direction.
Yeah.
What I think this
I use Perplexity. I like it.
This is.
I just like, yeah, instead of giving you sources. But you can use Google too, that would be the other one, because if you're using Google Lens to look up an image, you're sort of right there.
Go further, I guess, it's like, this is. And then this is the way they.
Oh yeah, here's. So I guess like something I would say you're like the Central Asian.
So that makes sense. I think that's fine.
Yeah, they have two cities called Apollonia. They have the one in Mesopotamia, but then they also have one. Oh, Cairo, Babylon.
Oh, he's too very cool.
You wanna bring it?
Yeah, I think
Or you gonna- that's Apple. As long as you bring it back, let me see if I read my name and then.
So I don't think you can-
Yeah.
This is.
That's really, yeah.
I was looking for like mountain ranges and maybe rivers. That could still be, yeah. Like, I don't know exactly.
So then the switch for here, or they.
Yeah. I mean, like, so I use.
Starting off with 22, like 70, this is right there.
Still, that's 22 feet. There's
So let's.
probably 20 feet.
No.
From the Norman concept. And they made a tapestry, like 100
Oh,
feet.
really, it's interesting.
And it tells the story of the Norman concept. The body,
Yeah, I used this for you. Going to the south. Do they?
Okay.
And that's,
Yeah, that makes
that's
sense.
where I
Oh,
and then the little,
we have to check.
like a little.
Being like-
place.
Well, but also people are like.
And it's kind of like, who cares about the geography?
Yeah, wait.
But I don't think you use navigate by sea, like, there's no way.
Okay, all right, let's circle up here. Let's circle. Great.
Yeah, this is
Great.
We're too excited.
I know, it's great, this is awesome. I wanna get through, I think I'm now wanting to get through just two other maps today, but that'll be good. All right, so who wants to tell me about the who made it question? Who wants to answer that? Yeah,
It seems like we're not sure, but it was probably a monk. This copy seems to be from 12th century, but it's.
okay, but more than that, that's just that's just the beginning. No, anybody? Yeah,
So it looks like a monk copied a copy made by the French, I guess, like the Carolingian French, which was like the Charlemagne people,
yes,
and
they made
the
it.
original that they did in actually I think the 13th century now.
The Carolingians made it, I think, in the 13th century, and it was a copy of a 5th century map.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the copy that you're looking at here was, what century was that?
This one we have in front of us. I don't know.
I thought it was 12th century.
Oh, that may be the one. All right. What other questions or interesting things came up for you guys in looking at this? What were you talking about? Yeah,
We looked on an AI tool and it said it goes all the way to India, which I thought was super interesting.
uh-huh.
Crazy.
Yeah, because you can find the Ganges River.
Oh, you can? We were looking for India. We couldn't quite tell where it was.
It's you go all the way, and you look at all the like the little river inlets above one of them in red. What is it? It's like the second one down. Okay, yeah, Ganges.
Okay,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
gonna blow your mind a little bit. This is a map of where Roman coins have been found, like hordes of caches of Roman coins
Yeah.
in India.
But they just go from the Red Sea, right? And it's.
Well, there was a trade route between India and, but it was a nautical trade route.
Yeah.
All right, what else? Other things you guys talked about in looking at the map or were wondering about?
I
Yeah.
liked how accurate Italy was, like compared to other countries, because it actually looks like a boot, and here you also have Sicily, so it's
Uh-huh,
more accurate compared to other places.
yeah, that was their backyard, right? Yeah,
Greece also seems more or less accurate. I mean, it's not like something, but like
Yeah, you can tell where Peloponnese.
you can tell where Peloponnese, then you have like Thrace, and then it goes up to the.
where is that now? Help me out to,
It's kind of the middle left, trigger Chris.
Yeah. More to the left.
Yeah, that's the,
That's.
That's Constantinople.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And below that's Crete, but if you.
this is Crete?
Yeah, but if you go further, to the.
Yeah, go to the left.
If you go further, because that's Thrace, and then you see, further left, it's, well, they really stretch it out, but like that's Peloponnese and like Athens,
Do you see like the little.
Uh-huh,
yeah.
They have Sparta.
other comments?
Is like I'm wondering what the purpose of the map was, given that it's so distorted or elongated and bent. Was the
Yeah.
main purpose to display like the road connections between settlements so that you can navigate across roadways, or I'm not entirely sure.
That was my guess based on how detailed like each settlement's location is. And we were talking about like the London tube, where it was like it didn't really matter geographically, like it kind of mattered navigationally.
Right,
And I was seeing the same like idea.
yeah,
And I think
how big was this thing?
Is it 1 by 22 feet? Something like that?
Yeah, 22 feet, so. Did anybody look up who used it, like, who the? No. What other things did you notice?
It's
Yeah.
the easiest for extreme now.
Like, it didn't, Sarah was explaining to me, but like, it didn't fully clock until I saw like Rome. Cause like, I was so confused what I was looking at, and then I saw Rome, like,
Yeah.
and then I just realized it's Italy, and it all made sense, but like, Rome has this little like thing on it, I thought that was just like,
So
I don't
does
know,
Antioch
that's pretty
and
neat.
Santa-
The little,
It's like all roads.
Yeah, all of these are lead road. Yeah, yeah.
I think this map is made for Emperor Augustus.
Emperor Augustus?
Yeah.
So that would be like 100?
Yeah, it says like based off of like, they're not hypothesis, it's like maybe based off.
Materials.
That was made around the time of Augustus.
Which is like
The
one,
fifties or
Yeah,
sixties.
yeah.
wow, okay. Yeah,
It seems like they put like a image of what a city represents at each like important city. All the way on the right, or not all the way on the right, but where the Mediterranean ends. I couldn't quite figure out what this city was supposed to be, right there, where your mouse is.
this one,
It's Antioch.
Antioch.
It's
Antioch,
Antioch here.
which is Israel or
No,
No,
Syria.
Syria, yeah.
Yes, ancient Syria.
What was fascinating well, I guess Antioch was a major city in the. I was wondering if they would maybe have like a marker like this for each of the patriarchates from
Yeah, I was surprised
Like
they didn't have
in-
Alexandria.
right Alexandria or Jerusalem as well. I was expecting maybe to find
well, this was based on like, well, if it was based on the first century, then it won't have that.
I mean, yeah, but if this is a copy from the 12th century, you'd expect it maybe to have accretions maybe, and especially if like major, if it was made by a monk, you might expect like, especially like major patriarchal seeds, like the 5 major ones to be displayed.
All right, that was great. So we're gonna move on to another map.
What was the Catholic one?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we're now moving on. Well, if we call that a like classical map, now we're gonna go to the Middle Ages. And in the interest of time, we're gonna do the Hereford map. So now for this one, you've got to go to exhibit 172 or click on that link. And this is a Mappa Mundi. It's from the 13th century. It exists to this day. Like you can go visit it at the Hereford Cathedral, which is here. So this is the picture of the map. I think you can kind of get its size from that. This is a good copy. So you can zoom in on it. And then if you want to, this is the decoder map.
Huh.
And then there also is, let me see here. I think that's what we got. I thought there was another site you could go to that's like unpack this map, but I think that's for a different map. So let's do the same thing. Take a couple minutes and look at it yourself, all of this yourself, whichever you want, and then we'll go into groups again.
It's actually so helpful that they make the Red Sea red, because that helps me so much. Once you see the Red Sea, it's like, oh, this is
The ones
good.
before
I think if you go to the slide, show you.
But this,
I believe. I didn't see so much stories.
I love the fish. It's awesome.
You go to exhibit 172. That was
172.
I thought it might not be that.
Yes, it's literally Sicily. Oh, fabulous. What's kind
And then if you go to the next one, it gives you that was, yeah.
Well, there's a map that was, that's blocking me from that, so. You know, better date. It just this.
Just.
you know, take the presentation.
Mapping this. Or is it, the most important maps is that.
Like struggles.
And this one is way like other people.
So you said that for the release of school?
This one. Maps of surrender.
Oh, yeah, you did that, for the curriculum.
People, yeah, sure, all the, they just ran close to
So this is Spain, that's.
So I wonder, they have like, where's Spain? And then.
So like, if you go all the way to the bottom, you can see the pillars of Hercules, which is gonna be Gibraltar, and then
That's
that's.
the bottom, yeah, I mean, I got that was Mediterranean, I guess, it's kind of trippy.
They
No,
put the
yeah.
labyrinth on Crete.
Is there, oh wait, is it gonna be the time? Wait,
Really?
where is
I'm
it?
pretty
Is it-
sure.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's amazing, I love that.
Oh,
I think it's so funny that like the most reliable way to identify places is by like these little like sound you like logical like.
I think it's kind of funny that the other thing was like, I don't know, five, like,
there's just range
five minutes, like,
It's like 5 feet away from Italy.
Well, that's Sicily.
Oh yeah, from Sicily, yeah, but also from Italy, right?
Yeah.
Just one thing for you guys to see on this page here. If you go to the left side, so the image text, and you click on this button. There's a whole, somebody has helped you decode what's where, so.
Yeah, right, there's like the labyrinth on Crete, it's amazing.
Oh, the interactive.
This is real.
Can you?
Yeah. So
So
you go
your
to,
iPad.
you got it, yeah.
I remember, oh.
Oh, Hercules.
Oh, it's Paris.
It's crazy.
Oh, I didn't realize they have it now.
You should share that. Nice and false.
Wait, they have the Golden Fleece.
First of all,
From Georgia.
Tim Jordan.
When is the?
Oh, they had the Tower of Babel, so.
They have the Tower of Babel, that's so.
It's in Babylon.
Yeah, I was up.
But which Babylon, is it in actual Babylon or in Cairo?
I need to figure where this doesn't look like Cairo, it's more, it's kind of like straight up from the Mediterranean.
Oh, okay, that's probably, yeah, it's probably actual.
Yeah, it's a home.
Maybe, yeah, then actually.
You know, what scratch famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, this area.
What's freedom here? Oh, yeah, I see it, yeah, yeah, that's
How can you read which?
Like those things. Can you translate some?
Oh, Eden.
I don't,
Eden is on the.
yeah, you could use your camera and use Google Translate.
Oh, I see a tree, right? Is that it? A tree
Yeah,
with two?
it is at the very top of the map, it's like on the opposite of the, David Walter.
Oh, I see what you mean, okay.
Oh.
No, they made your arm. So this is, I don't do this yourself, but like you. One of the things you guys could do, I just went into Perplexity and I wrote down this prompt, write a 200-word summary of the Nuremberg map, including what's depicted, physical places, places of faith or fantastic things on the map. And then it's gonna give you a short summary and then you can ask more questions from that. Cause there, like, it goes and extracts knowledge in the world about this thing. And it, yeah.
You should say. Because. I'm trying to figure out like biblical.
Well, what's interesting is like when they put like the images of Christ at the top of the map.
Yes.
It's interesting because one of the titles that's typically used, especially in older for Christ, is Orient. Or like the east or the place from where the sun.
Yeah,
I think that's
Your summary is there, I don't know where it is.
They tend to be off to the sides, like the.
she found the gold place. We're like, oh yeah.
You know, like you gotta.
On like an Easter egg hunt for all of like the middle thing. Oh wait, shoot, it'd be in Armenia, right?
Yeah.
They put it in
That would be done
Armenia.
through the Columbus Police, right?
Arabian Nights.
But I'm gonna see if it's Babylon.
It's really cool.
No, that's probably nothing, that's probably not.
Yeah, yeah, it's like.
Wait, I know this is like, why is it here?
Well, it wasn't before Muhammad, so.
That's so
it was
great.
before
I
the
love
Islamic-
it. Just like cookies, just Easter eggs.
It's the same.
Is that one?
So where is that?
It does not look like Italy. It's Italy is the peninsula just left of Greece.
Yeah, that's what's throwing me off here. It looks so.
You see
Well,
Rome?
the thing is.
Yes, no, I see Rome as a bit, but like, what is that?
The thing is that whole part has to be Italy, right? Like Greece is not.
Okay, this is probably Greece then.
Because North like parallel to Greece.
Wait,
Can't have so I think that the whole.
Greece is right here.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
But is it this Greece?
I'm pretty sure that's
Well, you can see Venice here, so this has to be Dalmatia.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the Adriatic.
Yeah.
Dude, why is it so?
Also, why is Crete so far from Greece? That makes it.
That has to look like
This
it.
is really right guy. Oh, okay, that was not that bad.
No, I was listening.
Remember
Oh
now.
yeah, do you see the lighthouse of Alexandria?
Yeah, I do see that, yeah. Wait, that was also gonna remember.
It's true.
Why
Oh, and
did
there's
they
Cairo, Babylonia.
why did they have so much fantastic stuff?
Isn't it fascinating, right? Like the pillars of Hercules, the Golden Fleece.
Oh, that's
Where is
Really?
far,
Far East?
far north, well, not, my brain wants to say no, like far up in,
Yeah.
I apologize.
Like, I see the red.
Oh, it's literally, okay.
I think that's
pretty much.
Wait, I see the electric, this symbolizing India maybe?
Yeah, I think that's all it's, yeah, I'm pretty sure that like straight peninsula inside is supposed to be Arabia.
Yeah, this just needs to the red
So in
sea.
Arabia, then up there you have Sri Lanka, and then you have.
That's so nuts.
It's weird, it's a weird perspective, I think it's.
That's so
Just
sad.
Arabia, one part of the Red Sea, like that, part there was also pretty sauce.
Also, I think it's funny is they made the red sea red.
Right, well, it's super helpful, because it's like, oh, there it is.
That doesn't really make that dude.
Yeah,
Yesterday is the same thing.
right?
You know, like, I'll just go down.
Is the guy sign here?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
It's like.
Here?
Where was this?
I had it right, this thing right here.
You can barely see like the.
So it's not like China's.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see.
Oh,
You can see.
Yeah.
And, it's a little easier to see.
it's interactive.
This didn't because the
Yeah.
That's so small.
Oh, I,
But I
Okay.
try to.
It's small.
I think it kind of makes sense.
Wait.
It's not even far over here.
Well, I was trying to find it like on the map. Like, I see.
I think that's weird, but it makes sense.
Wait, at least they have China.
God,
That's what you
can't see that.
What do they have?
But I don't.
Oh, no.
The red.
And there are.
Okay, so that's fine.
Wait, yeah, there's like a bunch of small, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So they're all Crimea.
Oh, there's
There's Crimea 1, Crimea 2.
What are those?
Wait, where? Wait.
He just like
Sure.
added multiple crime lines.
It's a bunch of islands left.
Okay, no, that's not Turkey. Wait, okay,
Is that-
this Turkey.
This creature is frightening.
Oh, here's Constantinople. Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah, and
I don't like
that's what that is.
Yeah, okay, no, okay, I'm following this. So that's
I'm
Constantinople.
following the
It's so weird.
Curious over that little creature.
Is that the
So-
Black Sea?
Yeah, this is the Black Sea. There's like a bunch of.
Oh yeah, that okay. I see what you mean by all
There's
the
one
islands.
that creature is in Azerbaijan, not just
Where the Israelites got lost.
So it's like Russia.
Yeah.
The far left, the far left would be Russia.
So interesting.
Probably, yeah.
It is really, well, maybe it's right there.
Far left would be Russia, so
China.
China.
You just realize there's
Yeah, Britain is.
If it's
Yeah,
Canadian,
yeah.
first one.
I love the uniform.
Yeah. The Red Sea.
Yeah.
Love that.
Norway.
Hey, I did.
Probably, yeah, no, that's not what. Yeah, no, it's tricky, it's tricky.
Yeah, it's mostly the part in the red.
Turkey's really big.
That's really good.
It's so.
All right, let's circle up here. Because I want to do one more round before we hit our.
Yeah.
What you guys see? What was interesting?
So many interesting things.
The Easter egg hunt. There's so many fascinating little things, like the pillars of Hercules and like the fleece.
What else?
What was art? Yeah, that was interesting.
Uh-huh.
Garden of Eden and the route the Israelites cross the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's there?
That
Oh, yeah.
right here, right. That line is the path of the Israelites.
That's so fascinating.
That's
Okay.
actually. Okay.
I love seeing the golden fleece in Georgia.
I think it's funny that we are able to like identify where it's meant to be by like the little landmarks. It's like, oh, that's Armenia because the
Yeah.
ark is there. It's like,
Yeah.
This is like Jordan, yeah. I think so, the top.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So the other section is in the top.
Where's the golden fleece restored?
This little sort of.
Declan,
That.
where is the golden fleece on the map?
Wait, I don't know, like.
On the left. On the left, there's the Black
Makes a
Sea,
little more sense if that's pretty.
and yeah, there,
Turkey.
north.
a little bit.
No, no, that's
like-
like, the last, it's like, see, it's like, okay, the interest of.
This?
Here, the Bosphorus.
Oh.
Georgia.
He doesn't know what's upstairs.
And Noah's Ark is where?
South.
South?
No, that's west, south. Yes.
Oh, there it is, right there.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's written Georgia.
yeah. Okay, all right, we're gonna shift gears one more time here before we get our speaker. And I want you to look now
Or maybe.
at,
Hey.
this map. It's in 776. It's it's image number 34. And let me just frame it for you a little bit more. On this Renaissance maps. So I'm really sorry, so before he comes, I'm gonna show you this real quick. So this is the most popular map on David Rumsey's site. And it's called the Urbano Monte. And it's from 1587. This is a facsimile. This was the original intent of this map to be this big, and it spins on a wheel.
Oh, wow.
And it's a map of the world. The flat earthers love it. We've got some super high res copies on Pixium, but we're not gonna do that one now, but that's Chet, by the way, the other picture I just showed you. I want you to instead
It's so good, actually.
to go to, hold on, I'm gonna come back here, and you can get it this way too. So it's in, it's in a lot of places, but it's on, I would go to map 776. Sorry, exhibit 776. This is a map of the world from 1507. And I remember the story about the naming of America.
Yeah.
This was when he said it's America because of Amerigo. And then later he says, whoops, but everybody knew it. So go ahead, why don't you dive into this map?
America.
The projection is so interesting.
I'm like-
Because like they stretch the far edges when they make it.
It's
Greece is huge.
But it's the long.
World map.
Michael, how you doing?
It's like the Wall Street.
I can't find it.
Can't find it. Okay, can you go, so search up 776 in the search button here?
It's a pretty good map, actually.
It's actually.
Are you there? Okay, so then,
Yeah.
There are a lot of islands.
you wanna close down the exhibit text. and then go down to the bottom.
Greenland.
I don't like
Okay.
the Baltic.
You find it?
Denmark
That's
is
just-
so
is that the only
long.
one?
I'm trying to figure out what.
Is that the only one?
island in the?
That's the only one, yeah. Yep, just this one right now.
I got it.
Okay.
Like in like in the.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
I think that's Iceland.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little bunch of rocky islands out
Yeah.
there. Sort of,
India's just massive.
Oh, you do?
You know, I feel like.
Greece is also really
Wait,
big.
why is it
Oh,
always
wait,
cut
I
off?
don't think that's India that's massive. Wait, that is India. Wait, what?
Like some India is always cut off, and you
Yeah,
really
it's
start
so
over
far
there
east.
instead.
Wait, I don't think that can't be.
Sure, you look at the cartouches up here at the top, this panel here and the panel over here and try to understand what's going on there.
I just don't.
Oh, they're wrapping around.
I for some reason I just don't think that that's actually the big ones. I don't think that is like actually in India. I think.
Oh, it says, oh, no, right there, right
It's
there.
called India, but I don't think it is.
I think it's so
I think it's Southeast Asia.
that they did like North America. Like it's like a straight
I
line.
think this is Southeast. I think this is India. This is Southeast.
Yeah, no,
Let's see. They
Yeah.
call it Cuba Isabella.
Isabella?
Because they have lots of
Hey, they're all like the same. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have what's it call it?
This video is spelled very
Yeah,
interesting.
There you go.
SPATNOLL.
This is China.
Oh, Spaniel.
Yeah,
It's like Italian.
Yeah.
I say.
Shots from.
To be honest.
This is way too many islands.
Yeah, but we had a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of.
like probably, I think. Oh, but then this is Tibet, it's not definitely Tibet. So it's like Tibet, like province, what's it? Right here. Right here.
Oh.
So that's probably Tibet. That Tibet.
Okay, that's good, yeah.
I think that's, so then China would be like kind of up,
Yeah.
above that. What?
Wait, this is Korea.
They made the dawn seem really big.
That's Korea.
Oh, here.
It's like that little,
This is your.
I don't, yeah, that probably is.
and then below it's Taiwan, that's my guess. I don't even know what that.
I don't know if they know it's, it might be that, it might be like a random.
They balance that one.
It's gonna figure out which one.
Cause it was, they had it.
This is Java, they have Java.
Facing the wrong way.
Yeah.
Wait, is that Straits of Malacca?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh wow, that's so fascinating.
They have like, I think they say Lamb.
It's a thing.
And is that Ceylon or Sri Lanka? Wait.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is.
That's also that is really.
Okay, I see.
I think Sri Lanka is.
What?
Like.
They're great, aren't they? Love them.
No, I'm actually the Sri Lanka too, I think they're wrong.
Rova Peninsula, I think is what it is.
That's India there, like that's
Yeah.
what makes
But
sense.
it is
Like a
called,
hacker.
Madagascar.
They just, yeah, Mad's so cool. Yeah, Mad
Hey,
is,
South Africa.
that island is like still large for Sri Lanka, I think is.
I'm telling you, Sri Lanka is one that's at Ceylon.
Yeah, I think that's right. Ceylon would be what they would have called it.
Yeah, I just don't know why it's not called.
Oh, so here's India.
I mean,
So that's India. So they actually made India very small, actually, in reality.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah, no, I think that's India, yeah. Well, I think they made India like longer, like horizontally than actually.
Is it?
Well, they have two parts. They have India Meridionales, and then there's another part that's just called India.
You mean like, yeah, I don't think I know those Indians.
I think it is this loosened up.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
so you think that's, I'm just thinking, I think.
Yeah, Southern India.
Yeah.
So they put Sri Lanka in the wrong place.
So did you really extend?
I think, yeah.
So it's visually. I think that's your own.
Oh, everywhere in that area.
They basically call it on. That's so bad.
I think might be able to. I think this
For some reason why I think this is India. because they have sand ponds, which is what they would culturally love. But I don't know, right? 'Cause they might just have no idea what's going on. They go over here, they draw their own stuff.
Like, okay, they have a.
I think it's hard to say.
I think the Indus River is here because they have. River is.
Just correlates, that's correlates.
Yeah, I think this is Corlands.
Because
Wait,
it's
like,
where is
like Fredericksburg, Duzer?
Yeah.
I guess it's not like existing.
St. Petersburg, bro, that was founded like.
That's so funny.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
like,
like,
it would have been.
There were no cities before that.
No,
There was.
it was a swamp.
Oh, wow, so he didn't even like, it wasn't like you were refounding the city or anything, okay.
And then you go on the.
So it'll be right here, it'll be right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the hyper.
Wait, hyper.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a.
Car beach.
Where the car.
Tertiary, wait, this is
Oh my god, they have, boy, they have.
this is the words, this is like a set of words.
They have Tartaria.
Wait, do they have the wall as well, or no?
Oh, they, like,
That's a good question.
Not that they have, oh, wait, they have a really big. Yeah.
Did you look at the top partition?
I did.
Would you?
That's where I found these about.
And did you
Yeah.
look
I
at
think it's the really big part
the
of
map
that.
in one of
I
the?
think you're right, just push Sri Lanka, like, I think they think,
They wanna go.
cause they have sand ponds.
Would you recognize this map?
Like, I think this.
I'm
Yeah, it's.
We've seen it.
So, I think. I think
This saw it yesterday
Yeah.
But does
at special elections.
Yeah.
That's the map,
I
so.
think that's right.
This is here,
This is all India, actually.
that's Ptolemy.
And this is.
Wait, that's Ptolemy?
That's Ptolemy.
Oh, I can see with the cone, right, the conal projection.
Yeah, and this is the map that we saw yesterday at special collections.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Ptolemy, so we, Walter doing a big tribute to Ptolemy here. And he's has, showing the map that Ptolemy did,
That would be amazing.
right? And then, you see this over here, the,
Very famous.
yeah, yeah,
Very.
like Columbus doesn't exist. And do you know why Columbus?
Cause he didn't have news of it, right?
Because what?
He didn't have news of it, right? Like the cartographer would have made this map, didn't have news of it yet, or
I
no?
don't think so, I think it's because Columbus, and Vespucci went and it was way after Columbus.
Yeah.
But Vespucci said he found the New World, and Columbus kept saying, I found
India.
the East Indies.
Yeah,
Yes.
And-
yeah, he claimed that till his death, right? That he
Yeah.
found India.
Yeah.
I see, so he doesn't get
I
credit.
wanna see if I can
Wow.
identify any Chinese cities. I wanna see if I can find the.
Columbia.
Do you know what the Aquilo could be referring to when it has like the wind head?
Oh, wait.
Aquilo?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
Wait, this is also really fun.
So, yeah, Aquilo means like wind from like the northeast or something like that. So all the winds, this goes back to classical, have a name.
all the wind heads.
Have names.
Okay.
And there were Greek names, and then there were Roman names, and some of them had 12, some had 16.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an ice wall.
Okay.
This is where Stanford.
We saw that on the map,
Yeah.
right, yesterday, this map had the little cherubs.
Wind heads.
They have so many different oceans that aren't real.
Yeah, it's really.
In the Arctic Ocean.
Just making up oceans.
What?
See.
What's this test?
I think it's so funny that
This is the Caucasus, yeah, this is Turkey, this is Greece.
they deal with like the round shape
it's
figures,
actually
they like
not-
stretch, like you can tell almost that it's actually they stretch.
Let's.
Both edges.
What?
All right, let's circle up here for a second.
It's so weird.
They make it really thick.
Yeah.
Or does it, yeah.
And also.
Oh, yeah, no, it's like massive.
Yeah.
The sea of Azov is like huge compared to that.
And then I think.
And in the
Right.
was smaller.
What did you guys see on this map? What were some of the
Oh.
things that you saw?
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
It's hard to read, this.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the new has some tearing, which I looked up, and it was like, not discovered, or not.
Not known.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Terra-
see, like, they know there's like,
Yeah.
yeah, obviously, they didn't know how much they can actually shape it to be, but, to see them just like, put like, we're gotta look it into the.
So there is a corollary to the world of making maps today. Which, and when you say that, terra incognita, you're telling your viewer, right, I don't know the answer. Right, and that happens today too, I don't have an answer, and so this is that line between estimation and speculation. And I would say that's, that's a good thing to do, to say, I don't know.
Right, as opposed to making some.
Making right.
Yeah.
First off,
Yeah.
what? It's so simple. Wait, where's
This is not a,
wait, Poland should be shooting this here.
should be Poland.
Well, I think
Where's
the
the
fish
education?
is messing everything up. It's so huge. I think it took away a lot of this.
What?
And
This one.
We're looking at
Oh,
like
you're
a
okay,
five.
that one, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think this is.
Where's Warsaw on this mode?
We're not found.
Right, I'm pretty sure. Wait.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, gotta be,
Yes, it was. Warsaw exists.
like they knew about the dairy, they knew that it was connected, right? They knew that north and there was a,
Yeah, no, that's.
well, actually, that's interesting. Right there. Go
Right,
to
it's a
go to that.
Bill's
So they're saying,
Bill,
they're saying it goes through. right?
Wait, but yeah, you're right, on the top here.
My brain would put like something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Bill, this is like over
Right,
here.
over here, they have a little break.
This would make sense,
Yeah.
like kind of up here, but.
No, Billy's the capital.
Yeah, so then,
But
then
it gets close,
Venezuela
I
would
think
be
it's actually-
That's
somewhere.
Last one. So that's-
Yeah.
That's wait, that's Lapland?
Yes, it's
Looks like the.
Wait, why is it like this? So
It's
it's
a question.
Yeah.
I think that's there's that.
Well, it just makes sense, but like, this. I think it should look like, this makes sense.
If they have a little flag.
This makes sense.
And then.
This whole place, this is.
Yeah, go back. Belongs.
It makes sense, it makes sense, all these facilities in this place.
No, Billy's saying that.
It's further.
Yeah,
It's then Moscow.
see, like, that is.
And then.
Oh, the tower. It was very long.
Welcome to our guests. Thank you for joining us. Chet, I see you. Hey, Chet.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Yeah, Linda, come on in. Linda, Aaron, actually, you probably come on over here. We have one guest in the room, plus 15 students. We've got some people on the phone, please. If you would, we're happy to have you. Would love for you to share your camera so we can meet. Bro and Nancy, I see you. Why don't you say hello? And share your camera if you can. Hold on just a second. Chet, we have been looking. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, I can't get you on the major screen. I only have you on those little thumbnails.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen, so hold on a second. This will help you.
Okay, there. Excellent. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, I'm turning off my camera.
Okay, nice to see you. Hold on, Chet. I'm gonna put a camera into the room here for you. We've been looking at, we did the Pugingeriana map, and then we also looked at the Hereford map, and then we looked at the Waldseemüller 1507.
Okay, very
map.
good.
And we probably had 20 minutes for each one of them, roughly. I was trying to channel whatever the heck it is you're gonna teach us today. So just a second here, while I show the room. to you. There we go. Here you go. Put you in the room. And then I'm gonna also just say a couple words about you, Chet, to introduce you, and then I'll pass it off to you. Okay, and Lisa Connaughton just joined us. Hi, Lisa. Welcome.
Hello.
And Ivy just joined us. Please share your camera.
I don't think it's all upstairs.
There we go. Okay, one more. Okay, so I've known Chet, I don't know how many years have I known you, Chet? 7, 8, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Been a while. Chet and I have collaborated on a few projects to annotate and present maps on Pixium. Chet is a scholar and prolific author, and these are some of the books. Oh, hold on, sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen. You guys it's $5 in the jar for that. Hold on. Here he is. We're back to Chet. Okay. Yeah, last year Chet talked about the Martellus map, but we were talking this year, and Chet has a presentation about looking slowly at maps that he's going to do. But he is, like I said, prolific. He's made a map, a book about the Deceliers map of 1550. That's this one. He's made a book recently about sea monsters on maps, self-portraits by cartographers. I think that one's done, right, Chet?
No, it's not done. I've done almost all of the research, but I haven't really started writing it yet. I've given talks about it and written short articles, so not the book yet.
Okay, and then this book about cartouches on maps. Cartouches are the what do you call it? It's like the watermark, or it's the
the decorative frames usually around the title information or around other inset images or texts on maps.
Yeah. All right, so Chet, delighted to have you here, and I'm going to pass it off to you. Thank you.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here. Let me share my screen here. And just take a second.
And we've got till 12:15, just so everybody's aware.
Okay. How's that look, Tom?
Great.
Okay, so we'll get started. So the basic point of my talk today is that maps are very rich documents, and that sometimes there are characteristics of maps that we can only fully appreciate, that we can only recognize, that we can only perceive by looking at them very slowly and carefully. And what I'm going to do is go through some examples of that type of insight about maps, aspects of maps, characteristics of maps that we can only appreciate by looking at them slowly and carefully. And I'm going to begin with some words from the slow art movement. And this is the idea that we can only truly appreciate paintings by looking at them slowly and carefully. And there have been several recent books about slow art. To my mind, one of the best is Arden Reed's Slow Art, The Experience of Looking Sacred Images to James Turrell, published in 2017. And he talks about our culture of impatience and discusses a survey that was commissioned by the Visitor Studies Association, which found that on average, Americans spend between 6 and 10 seconds looking at individual works of art in museums. And he says, true, applying the brakes, that is slowing down, is easier said than done. Habituated to instant visual gratification, how can we open up or stretch out the standard 6 to 10 second contact? How to identify conditions that sustain aesthetic engagement, that is, engagement with artworks? One answer comes from conducive settings, another from artworks themselves, because looking at art can teach us the composure we need to look at art. Give objects time, and they can show us, if we are receptive, how to look, how to be generous with other objects, and so on, as beholder and beheld nourish each other. So I put the key there in italics. Looking at art can teach us the composure we need to look at art. So what I'm doing today is the same thing, but with maps. My hope is that by giving you some examples of looking slowly at maps, it'll teach you maybe some techniques and also the advantages of looking slowly at maps. Another work related to the slow art movement is an article by Jennifer Roberts, The Power of Patience, teaching students the value of deceleration and immersive attention, published in the Harvard Magazine. And she says, the virtue of patience was originally associated with forbearance or sufferance, that is, waiting. It was about conforming oneself to the need to wait for things. But now that generally one need not wait for things, patience becomes an active and positive cognitive state. So what she's saying is that being patient helps you perceive more. And then I'll also quote some passages from an article in the New York Times a couple of years ago titled, Powerful Forces Are Fracking Our Attention. We Can Fight Back. Our attention is born free, but is increasingly everywhere in chains. We are witnessing the dark side of our new technological lives. Increasingly powerful systems seek to ensure that our attention is never truly ours. Today, the problem of flighty or fragmented attention has reached truly catastrophic proportions. High school and college teachers overwhelmingly report that students' capacity for sustained or deep attention has sharply decreased, significantly impeding the forms of study, reading, looking at art, roundtable discussions, once deemed central to the liberal arts. We must flip the script on teachers' perennial complaint. Instead of fretting that students' flagging attention doesn't serve education, we must make attention itself the thing being taught. For 2 centuries, champions of liberal democracy have agreed that individual and collective freedom requires literacy. But as once familiar calls for an informed citizenry give way to fears of informational saturation and perpetual distraction, literacy becomes less urgent than attensity, the capacity for attention. Attention education is the most powerful thing we can do for ourselves, for one another, for democracy. So in our talk today, we are helping save democracy. So I'll begin with a look at a map that you've just been looking at, so it should be very familiar to you. A single line on Martin Waldseemüller's world map of 1507. Here is the map, which you've just seen. It was printed on 12 sheets, designed to be a wall map. And here is the line that we'll be looking at. So you can see that it sort of stands alone in the Northern Ocean. And the simple question is, what is that line doing there? Why is that line sitting there alone? What is its meaning? And as usual with 16th century cartographers, we don't have Martin Waldseemüller's diary or workshop notebooks, anything that would explain the map. He did publish a pamphlet to accompany the map, but it doesn't mention this line at all. So the only recourse we have is to try to understand what that line is by looking at the map itself, slowly and carefully. So as you've just heard from Tom, the 1507 map was printed on 12 sheets, which were designed to be assembled into a wall map. It's famous for its depiction of the Americas, and particularly for being the first map to apply the name America to the New World. So we'll begin by zooming in at the top of the map, where we have portraits of the Greek cartographer and geographer Claudius Ptolemy and the Italian explorer Amerigo Vespucci, with inset maps accompanying them. So here we are. We have Claudius Ptolemy on the left, together with a map of basically the old world, which is to say the continents known in antiquity, which is to say Europe, Africa, and Asia. And then on the right, we have Vespucci and a map of the more recent discoveries. And as we'll see in a moment, we have Eastern Asia, Japan, and the New World. Vespucci had nothing to do with the exploration of Japan or Eastern Asia, but he's serving as a figurehead representing more recent geographical discoveries. So we'll begin by looking at Ptolemy in the Old World. Here we are. So what we have next to Ptolemy is something very similar to a Ptolemaic world map. It's not exactly the same, but very similar to that map. And here is a Ptolemaic world map from a 15th century manuscript. We don't necessarily see one of these every day. To just orient ourselves, here's Europe, the Mediterranean, Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, Asia, and it's important to note that Ptolemy does not know the eastern coast of Asia and the Indian Ocean. So going back to Waldseemüller's inset, what we see here is very similar, but it does go a bit further to the south than Ptolemy depicted. It also goes from the prime meridian, 0 degrees longitude, to 180 degrees of longitude, 180 degrees east, which is to say it shows half of the Earth's circumference. As I mentioned, this shows a bit more of the world than Ptolemy did. It shows southern Africa, for example, which was not known to Ptolemy. But Waldseemüller is very conscious of this difference between this map and Ptolemy's, because he puts this line and he writes along that line that everything south of this line was unknown to Ptolemy. So it's almost a Ptolemaic map, but not exactly. We look now at Vespucci and the new discoveries. Here we are. So this inset map covers the other 180 degrees of longitude. So from 180 degrees east to 360 degrees east, or 0 degrees, the prime meridian. And as I said, the map covers Asia, Eastern Asia, Japan, and the New World. And again, Vespucci had nothing to do with the exploration of Eastern Asia, but he's acting as a figurehead for the new discoveries here. So these two inset maps divide the world into two halves. What was known in classical antiquity, more or less, again with some extensions in the south, and the more recent discoveries, Eastern Asia, Japan, and the New World. So let's zoom out again. And here is that line that we're curious about. And as we can see a little bit better in this zoomed in view, it really does stand out. And the question is, again, what is this line signaling to us? And the first thing I want to note is that there's some symmetry here. So what we're looking at are meridians that extend southward from the North Pole. And we see some symmetry. So on the left, not all of the meridians go to the North Pole. The first one that goes to the North Pole stands directly opposite this mystery line. So since these are meridians, let's extend them all the way down and see what they are. So here's the whole map. And if we extend those meridians, what we see is that the first meridian on the left that goes all the way to the North Pole is the prime meridian, 0 degrees. And our line on the right is the meridian for 180 degrees. So Waldseemüller is signaling the importance of the meridian at 180 degrees, which is to say, in the large map, he's dividing the world the same way he did in the small inset maps. He's distinguishing, using these meridians, between the part of the world that was known in classical antiquity, Europe, Africa, and Asia, and the new discoveries. So to the east of 180 degrees, to the east of that meridian, we see Eastern Asia, and to the west, we see Eastern Asia and Japan, and to the west, we see the New World. So he's using these meridians in a very programmatic way to distinguish between the Old World and the New World. And it's interesting that he does it differently in the two inset maps than in the large map. In the inset maps, he he depicts them as two separate hemispheres. In the main map, what he's really doing is he puts the world as known to Ptolemy in the center and shows the new discoveries sort of extending outward from that center. So this little line does have sort of programmatic importance in the map. It's not, a printer's mistake or anything like that. It's part of the map's philosophical program to show the European expansion extending from that center that was known in classical antiquity. And again, the center part of the large map corresponds quite well to what we see in the small inset map next to Claudius Ptolemy, which is to say the world known in classical antiquity. And then outside that, we have the new discoveries. So that is the meaning of this little line on Waldseemüller's 1507 map. And again, the interpretation of this line is something we could only arrive at by looking at the map slowly and carefully and having the patience and the curiosity to want to understand it. We'll move on now to a look at Pierre Desailly's world map of 1550. So Waldseemüller's 1507 map was printed on 12 sheets, as we saw. Pierre Desailly's 1550 world map is a manuscript, so it's hand-painted on parchment or vellum. It's in the British Library. I had a fellowship to study the map, and I had the immense pleasure of unrolling this vellum every morning when I went to work on it and seeing these spectacular colors appear before my eyes as I unrolled it. It's an incredible experience, and I think it's arguably one of the most beautiful maps to survive from the Renaissance. And we're going to understand the precise reasons why this map is so beautiful. So we'll begin by looking at the genre, characteristics, and context in which this map was created. So it's based on the cartography of nautical charts. And a classic nautical chart, a medieval nautical chart, would show this part of the world, which is, say, Europe, the Mediterranean basin, North Africa, some of the Atlantic, and east to include the Holy Land, typically. I'm now going to switch from this modern map to an image of a nautical chart that shows the same area, which we see here. It takes a moment to orient oneself, but we see the boot of Italy near the center. In the lower right, we see the Red Sea, helpfully colored red. In North Africa, the large green object is a representation of the Atlas mountain chains. The Atlas mountain chain, we can see the British Isles here. And if we zoom in on the Iberian Peninsula, we can see some of the main characteristics of a nautical chart. The first of those is the place names, which are very dense along the coasts, written perpendicularly to the coasts, with the most important ones written in red. So a nautical chart is in its foundation a tool for navigation at sea. And if you're navigating at sea, it's the coastal place names that are the most important to you. So that's a sort of very sensible characteristic of nautical charts. The other very essential distinguishing feature are the rhumb lines. So these lines that crisscross the chart that radiate from, we can see one of the nodes of that network, as they're called, in the upper left corner. And the function of these rhumb lines, RHUMB, was to assist in choosing a course. So if you wanted to sail from point A to point B, you would find the rhumb line that was as close as possible parallel to that course, and then trace the rhumb line back to a node, and then you would know the compass direction that you wanted to travel on. So here's just visually emphasizing the radiating rhumb lines from that node. So we'll look at a couple other characteristics of this chart. The nodes of the rhumb line network, and I'll be talking a lot about rhumb lines in this talk, form a circle around a point in the center of the map. In the vast numerical majority of cases, that central point has no geographical significance. For example, in this map, that point is close to Rome, but the chart is not centered on Rome. The cartographer could have done that had he wanted to, but he didn't. So in the vast majority of cases, that central point has no geographical significance whatsoever. We are going to see some exceptions to that rule later in this talk. And we can see the same pattern with the rhumb line network in other charts. So here we have a world map by Niccolò de Caverio from about 1504 in the French National Library. Just to orient ourselves, here's South America, Africa, and India. And here are the nodes of the rhumb line network. They again form a circle. In some charts, like Pierre Desaillier's chart, there are two circles. And the idea here was that, so this chart was designed, as we'll see, for the French king, Henry II. It was never going to be taken to sea to be used in navigation, but it's part of the tradition of nautical charts. And so the cartographer tried to respect that tradition where possible. And by creating two circles of rhumb lines and nodes, that allows him to extend the rhumb lines to every part of the chart, even to the corners. So even if one is sailing up here, northeast of China, there would still be rhumb lines to help one choose one's course. There are two scales of latitude that we see here. The one to the left is divided into two parts. I think that's so that the lower part could be closer to the coast of Africa, of southern Africa, to aid in navigation there. And at the bottom of the chart, there's a scale of longitude. And it runs, we see the prime meridian, I've labeled 0 degrees. It runs to 177 degrees east at the right-hand edge of the chart. And then coming around the other side, it begins at 73 degrees east. So what that tells us is that 96 degrees of longitude are not depicted, which is basically, in this case, the Pacific Ocean. And it's an interesting choice. Why did Pierre Desailliers choose not to include the Pacific? Well, it wasn't because he didn't have knowledge of the Pacific. We can find contemporary charts, such as Sebastian Cabot's world map of 1544, so made 6 years before Desailliers made his chart, that shows all 360 degrees of longitude, including the Pacific, which is here. We see something similar on Caspar Vogel's world map of 1558. So this was first printed in 1545, so 5 years before Desailliers. And it again shows all 360 degrees of longitude. So why is it that Pierre Desailliers would not show all 360 degrees of longitude? Well, the simple fact of the matter was that the French king at the time, Henry II, wasn't that interested in the Pacific. It didn't seem practical to include a depiction of this distant ocean in which France had no interests, and including the Pacific would have entailed spending more money on parchment, spending more money on pigments. And so that was the decision that was made, not to include the Pacific. We can, looking at the map closely, we can determine some things about how it was intended to be used. So if we look at Western Africa, and we look at the decorative images, we can see that the images below are oriented to be seen from below, whereas those above are oriented so as to be seen from the top edge of the map. And what this tells us is the map was not designed to be hung on the wall, but rather laid flat on the table so that one could walk around the table and see it from different angles. And when one did that, the decorative images would appear correctly oriented. So another interesting feature of this map is all the descriptive texts. And if we look at them, we'll notice that almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them are located on the land. Why would you do that? Why would you not take advantage of the quote unquote empty oceans to locate those descriptive texts in the oceans? By placing the texts on land, you're basically interfering with your depiction of terrestrial geography. And that question becomes particularly pertinent when we look at these two other more or less contemporary maps. So Sebastian Cabot's world map has long descriptive texts which are located in the seas. And Kaspar Vopel's world map has long descriptive texts in these rectangular frames, and I know the contrast on this map is not great, so it's hard to fully appreciate, but they're also located in the seas on this map. So this is South America here. Here's Africa. The long descriptive texts are located in the oceans, taking advantage of that quote unquote emptiness. So why would Pierre Desailly not do the same? Well, this is another sort of tipping of his hat to the tradition of nautical charts. If you're using a chart to navigate at sea, the last thing you want is a big block of text in the ocean, possibly obscuring an island that could be a hazard to navigation. So that's why he placed these descriptive texts on land. Again, a bit of respect to the tradition of nautical charts, leaving the oceans unencumbered by these descriptive texts. And we can see that same choice made on other nautical charts. So here we have James Inmrave's chart of the coast of China from 1889. And the title of the map and the inset maps are all located on land rather than at sea. So let's look at the circumstances under which the 1550 map were created. And very unusually, it has 3 coats of arms. So normally, if one is in the enviable position of commissioning a nautical chart, paying for its creation, sometimes one has one's coat of arms put on the chart to indicate its ownership. And one coat of arms would be very typical. This chart has 3 coats of arms. Why is that? So let's look at them and identify them. So the one in the lower left-hand corner.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Did I hear you right that the map was not used for navigational purposes? Like
That's right.
It wasn't a functional map, but the king wanted it to be able to be used for navigation?
I don't think the king requested that. I think that was just the tradition that even if it was only intended for display and study, you would still include those navigational features on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So the first coat of arms in the lower left-hand corner, we see the fleur-de-lis, which is the royal symbol of France. So these are in 1550. This is the coat of arms of Henry II of France, whom we see here. In the lower right-hand corner, we have this coat of arms, which is the coat of arms of Anne de Montmorency, who was the constable of France, which is to say the leader of France's armed forces on the ground, like France's army, and very importantly, Henry's most trusted advisor. And in the upper right-hand corner, we have this coat of arms, which are the arms of Claude d'Annebault, who was the admiral of France, so the leader of France's navy, but critically, he was out of favor with Henry. So under what circumstances would a chart have these 3 coats of arms on them? Well, the only explanation that makes sense is that Claude d'Annebault commissioned the chart as a gift to the king and the king's most entrusted advisor. And we have other evidence that Claude d'Annebault was working during these years to sort of reinstate himself in the king's good graces, to regain the king's favor. He made other efforts in that arena. And so this map was designed as a gift from Claude d'Annebault to the king and the king's most trusted advisor as part of this effort to get back in the king's good graces. That's the only explanation that makes sense. Otherwise, there's no reason for the coat of arms of the man out of favor with Henry II to appear on the map. So now we know why the map was made. It was made as a gift to the king from a minister who was out of favor. If you imagine yourself in that position of trying to regain the king's favor, and you decide, well, I'll have a beautiful map made for the king, you would probably know that the king already owned a spectacular world map by Pierre Desailliers, which was made in 1546, which we see here. So imagine yourself in that position. You're trying to regain the king's favor. Pierre Desailliers is the go-to cartographer for a spectacular manuscript world map. You know, however, that the king already has a beautiful world map by Pierre Desailliers. So what do? Well, you go to Pierre Desailliers and say, I want the most beautiful, spectacular, amazing world map you can possibly produce. That is why the map is so beautiful. And if we compare the level of artistry on the two maps, here I show the scene of this mythical battle between the pygmies and the cranes, which goes back to Homer's poetry, the ancient Greek poet Homer. We can see that the level of artistry on the two maps is very different. It's much more cartoonish and unsophisticated on the 1546 map, whereas on the 1550 map, it's very finely executed. So it's artistry of another category, a much higher category. And I'm inclined to think that the explanation for these long descriptive texts on the map is the same. So there are no similar texts on the 1546 map, but there are on the 1550 map. So we get the sense that Claude Denonville went to Pierre Desailliers. He said, give me all the options. I want this to be the most amazing map you can possibly produce. And so Pierre Desailliers included these descriptive texts to make it the most complete, remarkable, beautiful map he possibly could. So let's have a look at the artists in Desailliers' workshop. So when making a production like this, the cartographer would take care of the geography and the place names and things like that, but would hire artists to decorate the maps because that wasn't his field of expertise. And we don't have any journal by Pierre Desailliers. We don't have any workshop notebooks that explain how this process worked, but we can learn about the process by studying his maps. So if we look at his 1550 map and we zoom in on the Southern Ocean, one thing we notice immediately, we have this image of a siren. She's admiring herself in a mirror, which is an indication of vanity, and a ship. If we zoom in, we can see that each of them has some water depicted beneath them to sort of situate them in the sea, and that the style in which the water is depicted is different. There are different colors and different styles. The water beneath the ship is more choppy. And this indicates that these images were made by different artists. And so we immediately, just looking at this one image, understand that there was a division of labor in the decoration of these huge, beautiful world maps, that different artists handled different aspects of it. And so let's undertake a comparison of the artists who made the 1546 and 1550 maps and see what we can deduce about them. So we're going to look at some similar objects and their depictions in the two different maps. So here we have the Tower of Babel, and we can see that the depictions are entirely different. They couldn't, for two depictions of a building, they couldn't really be more different. This is the city of Qinsai in China, and again, very, very different depictions, completely different style. The depictions of the elephants are very different. The ones on the 1546 map are very carefully outlined, but they don't have the three-dimensionality or the different colors of those on the 1550 map. The way the sea monsters are depicted is very different. The way the water is depicted is different. The color palette is very different. The way the water is spraying is different. The depiction of the ships are very different. Those on the 1546 map are very rudimentary. Those on the 1550 map are executed very finely. The way the mountains are depicted is very different. If we look at the 1550 map below, we can see that the mountains occasionally jut off at sort of improbable angles, whereas those on the 1546 map above are much more sort of standard, unremarkable mountains.
Hey, Chet,
Yeah,
do you have any information about how long it took to make both of these maps?
we don't. We have information about how long it took to make other nautical charts, but for ones of this size and degree of elaboration are unusual.
Yeah.
And we don't have any notebooks or diaries or anything like that from Desailliers.
No.
And then the way that the compass roses or wind roses are drawn is very, very different. So what can we conclude? We can conclude that there was no overlap between the two groups of artists working on the two maps. And that's exactly what we would expect. It seems that Claude Denonville went to Pierre Desailliers and said, I want this map to completely surpass your earlier map. And so Pierre Desailliers went out and hired the best artists he could possibly find, and none of them had worked on his earlier map. We're now going to do the same exercise again, looking at Desailliers' 1550 map and his 1553 map. Here is the 1553 map. It was destroyed in a fire, unfortunately, and the original no longer survives. But fortunately, before it was destroyed, a good black and white facsimile was made of it, so it's still a studyable object. We don't know what colors Desailliers used in making it, but we can study its graphic details.
And all three were on parchment?
Yes. So we'll do exactly the same exercise. So here are sea monsters on the two maps, the 1550 and 1553. We can see, I mean, just look at the one detail of the way the spouting water is depicted. It's completely different. The depiction of the Tower of Babel, again, they really couldn't be much more different. The city of Kinsai in China, again, very, very different. The way the mountains are depicted in Asia, again, just very, very different styles. If we look at the mountains on the 1553 map, we see a sort of chunkiness here in these mountains that we just don't see on the 1550 map. Whereas, when we look at the compass roses or wind roses, we can see that the styles are exactly the same. And if we look at the ships, we can see that the degree, the quality of the execution and the visual style is very, very similar. And in fact, here's another pair of ships from the same two maps, the 1550 and 1553. And of course, in the one on the left, the artist has added these sailors and the rigging. But if we look at the ships themselves, the execution is very, very similar. So what can we, oh yeah, one more detail about the ships. It never occurred to me that an artist might have favorite locations for putting ships on a map, but that turns out to be the case. So here are the locations of some, not all, most of the ships on the 1550 map, and they are in basically the same locations on the 1553 map. And that's strong confirmation that it was the same artist painting the ships on these two maps. So what can we conclude? We can conclude that different artists painted the sea monsters, mountains, and cities than on his 1553 map, but the same artist painted the compass roses and ships as on his 1553 map. And so now we have an insight into how his workshop functioned. We get the clear impression, the clear idea, the clear perception that for different projects he would hire a different team of artists and depending on the project, some artists might appear again or not. So it was a very dynamic workshop. And again, this is an insight into these maps and their production that we can only arrive at by looking at the maps slowly and carefully and comparing, taking the time to compare these graphic details. Because
Hey,
again,
Chet.
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. We got a question from the audience. Yeah, Raphael.
How many maps did you make in total?
I'm sorry.
How many maps did he make in total?
Well, so large maps like this don't survive very well, but so the surviving number is these three and an atlas at a manuscript atlas at the Morgan Library in New York. Those are the ones that survive. We might guess that he probably made several times that number. Let's just pull in it. So one scholar has estimated that for 15th century manuscripts, these are 16th century, but for the 15th century, for book manuscripts, on average, about 15% of the ones that were originally created survive. So this is the 16th century, so a little bit more recent. So that would lead us to suspect that maybe a few more, slightly higher percentage would survive. But on the other side of the equation, large objects that are difficult to store don't survive as well. So yeah, let's just guess that Desailly made it at least 5 times as many maps over the course of his career of this caliber. But
and by the way, these were parchment, so they're one of a kind.
Yes.
Is there a reason why he didn't make them I mean, printing press was available at that time?
That is a wonderful question. And so he was working in Normandy in France, and there was a whole, it's called the Dieppe School of Cartography, and calling it a school is really not accurate, but there was a whole group of cartographers working in this region in Normandy in the 16th century, and almost none of them did anything with maps in print. And I think the explanation is they had a very lucrative market making these custom manuscript maps, and they were content with that.
Thank you. Did you get your question answered? Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, Chet.
Sure. So that's what we conclude about Desaillier's workshop. We'll move on now to an atlas of nautical charts by Fra Matteo de Chiara, which is in the Huntington Library in Southern California. It's manuscript 217. And so again, 4 charts, and let's go through them quickly. So here's map 1 of Europe. And we can see this in the lower left-hand corner, there's the cartographer's signature. And I've transcribed it and translated it here. It says, nautical chart of the known world up to our time with perpetual glory to God, Fra Matteo de Chiara from Rimini made me in the year of the Lord 1519. And here's the second map of East Africa and Southern Asia. And just to orient ourselves, I labeled the Mediterranean and East Africa and India there.
What year again are we?
1519, and it's important to keep that year in mind. And the third map is of Africa, which we see here. And the fourth map is of North and South America. So what I want to do to gain some insights into this atlas is to look at 2 other atlases of 4 nautical charts made at about the same time. Let me just close the shade here. It's getting a little bright. So again, we're going to look at 2 other atlases of 4 charts made about the same time. So first, an atlas of nautical charts by the Italian cartographer Visconti Maggiolo, made in 1512, so more or less the same time. It's in Parma at the Biblioteca Palatina. So the first map is of Europe and Africa, as you can see here. We see dense coastal place names and detailed coastlines, and this is typical of nautical charts. As I said before, you have the dense coastal place names written perpendicularly to the coast, with the most important ones written in red. And we have the Nile. So the map is oriented with west at the top, so north is to the right. So the Nile flowing north to the Mediterranean from the Mountains of the Moon. And the Mountains of the Moon were the traditional source of the Nile, according to Claudius Ptolemy. The second map in this atlas is of the Black Sea and the Eastern Mediterranean. We have a scale of miles to the right of the chart. So the idea was that you would take dividers like a compass, and if you wanted to know the distance between point A and point B, you would put the 2 points of the compass on those 2 points, and then take the compass and put it on the scale of miles, keeping the distance between the points the same, and it would tell you the number of miles between those 2 points.
This is north on the left?
This is north on the left, yes. The third chart, again from 1512, is of the central Mediterranean. So we have south at the top. So we have the boot of Italy here. I don't know if you can see the mouse pointer moving there. And we have the circle of rum lines, the nodes forming a circle, as is typically the case. And we have some very basic compass roses, which are located on the nodes of the rum line network. And that's their typical location, is that you put the compass rose on one of the nodes of the rum line network. And we have 2 scales of miles, one in the upper right and one in the lower left. And the fourth chart, so this is of Western Europe and Northwest Africa. So here we see the British Isles on the right here. And this is the coast of France. And again, we have a scale of miles. And again, we have dense coastal place names and precisely drawn coastlines. And now we'll do a brief comparison with one other atlas of 4 nautical charts made by Conte di Ottomano Fraducci in 1536. We'll just run through it very quickly, just so we're sure that we're not comparing on the basis of one chart or one other atlas. So we have the Black Sea and Eastern Mediterranean here, oriented with east at the top. We have the scales of miles here are in the corners of the chart. So a different visual style for the scales of miles. Again, we have dense coastal place names and precise coastlines. The second map in this atlas, the third map, we could see again the circle formed by the nodes of the rum line network here going around as we expect. And the fourth map, which again has the scales of miles in the 4 corners. So let's return to the Atlas of the Huntington. Here it is, the first map of Europe. What we have here are vague, stylized coastlines in place of precision, even in Europe, which should be the part of the world most accurately depicted by a European cartographer, and almost no coastal place names, which stands in strong contrast to the 2 other atlases we just examined. There is no scale of miles on this or the other charts in this atlas in the Huntington. Here are the nodes of the rum line network, which form a circle as we expect. But here we have a windrose that is unconnected with the rum line network. It's not located on one of the nodes of the rum line network as we would expect. Here it is. Here's the nearest nodes of the rum line network, and it's not even located on one of the rum lines. So it's completely unconnected with the rum line network. Here's the second map of East Africa and Southern Asia. Again, the coastlines are very stylized with almost no coastal place names. And the mountains of the moon are not really depicted. I mean, there are some mountains, but normally the mountains of the moon are the source of the Nile are signaled and emphasized more than they are here. And again, at the top of the map, we have a windrose not located on a node of the Rumline network. So here are the nodes in that region, and the compass rose is not located on one of the nodes as we would expect. It's actually centered here, which is to say south of the nearest node. And looking at the fourth map of North and South America, we have the Mississippi River depicted, which, however, was not discovered by Europeans until 1541, and yet the atlas is dated 1519. And this coast, the western coast of South America, was unknown to Europeans till the 1530s. So here we have the so-called Salviati planisphere of about 1525, and both the western coast of North and South America are depicted as blanks because they were completely unknown. And the South America has this strange quadrilateral shape. So what I'm driving at here is that this atlas is a forgery. And so this is a case where slow and careful study of a map and comparison with contemporary documents, contemporary cartography, can reveal that a map is a forgery. And this was effort that the curators at the Huntington did not undertake when they purchased this atlas, and I believe it was in the early 20th century. So slow and careful examination of maps not only has an intellectual value, but it also has economic value. And as a matter of fact, the curators at the Huntington were not the only ones deceived by these forgers. And we don't know anything concrete about the forgers. It's suspected that they were operating in Italy, perhaps in the late 19th or early 20th century. But there are other maps in public collections that seem to come from this same workshop. So this is a world map allegedly made by Hieronymo Marini in 1512. There's no record of any cartographer with that name. Again, we see these vague coastlines with almost no place names. And if you imagine trying to forge a chart, writing all those place names would be exhausting. And if you're lazy, that's exactly the work you would want to omit. Another a world map also in the Huntington Library. So the curators there were deceived not once but twice. And we can see some of the same lazy characteristics in this map as in the atlas we looked at.
Chet, can we
Yes.
pause for just a second? Does anybody want to ask any questions about this? I have some, but yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask where the Huntington is.
It's in Southern California. It's in Pasadena.
Sorry?
Okay, the Huntington's in Pasadena. The question is where is it?
Yes.
And are these maps, Chet, they're done on paper or parchment, and they were created in maybe the early 20th century?
So created on parchment, probably late 19th, early 20th century. And they were designed to deceive.
Wow. Excuse me.
So this one is, again, we see a lot of this. Yeah.
Chet, I was just going to ask, were these maps intended to replicate other ones or just to look old?
That's a good question. And actually, if they had been intended to replicate other maps, that would have been a better strategy. That would have avoided mistakes like putting the compass roses, locating them not on nodes of the Rumline network. But no, they were just intended to look old.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you.
So the Newberry Library was also deceived. So they have this one made by Dolphin Bonaldo, again, another name that, there's no cartographer by that name. Another one in the Newberry Library, supposedly made by Hieronymo Barbolano in 1525. Again, there's no cartographer of that name. And finally, one at Lehigh University, an anonymous map of the Americas and West Africa. And again, we see the same visual style, basically. I mean, there are some coastal place names here, but not the density there would be on a real, genuine map. And there's many of the same visual characteristics, like this circular decoration here, that allow us to assign it to the same workshop of forgers. So
I take it it's not a coincidence that all of the maps that you've shown us are from the early 16th century, that was a time period, or are there forgeries in the late 16th, early 17th, or is that time period picked because things were in flux?
Another good question. I think it was chosen because it was in flux, and I think it was chosen because that was a very dynamic period in the cartography, particularly of the New World.
Yeah.
And so they knew that there were wealthy American collectors who you would be interested in acquiring previously unknown manuscript maps of the New World.
But we got a question here. Yeah.
How much did they get scammed for?
That I don't know. And libraries tend to be shy about revealing, well, in some cases, tend to be shy about revealing how much they paid for things. In other cases, depends on the institution, but I don't recall having seen any prices for these.
Isn't the most famous one of these the Vinland map that Yale acquired?
Yes, so that's not associated with this workshop, but that is certainly one of the most famous forged maps that a famous institution paid a lot of money for and found that they had been deceived. So,
Well, another question. Sorry, I hope this is all right, Chet.
Sorry.
Go ahead. We have a question here.
How do these institutions typically respond when they find out that they've bought a forgery? Like, does someone tell them? Does someone or within the institution discover? And what do they do once they have that information?
Yeah, it's another good question. So I actually told Lehigh University that their map was a forgery, and they at least in their response to me, like they took it with equanimity. They didn't seem too terribly upset. There's a museum in Madrid that over the years has acquired a lot of forgeries by mistake. So they weren't very careful with their acquisitions. And their strategy has actually been to create a special room in the museum for their forgeries. Because forgeries teach us things too. They're historical objects. And for example, in the case of these maps, we can, by looking at the maps, we can understand the strategy of the forgers, like what they were after. And they were after, wealthy American collectors who were interested in the history of the exploration cartography of the New World, and who would say, oh my gosh, I can buy this unknown manuscript map of the New World from the early 16th century. Can you imagine? And they get all excited and they write their check. So, yeah, I think the Newberry and the Huntington, they know their forgeries, but I think as part of it's part of the history of their collection is that they made these mistakes. So they continue to be there, and they have not tried to dispose of them or sell them or anything like that.
Yale had an exhibit of not only the Vinland, but then I think they included some other things the library had acquired.
Okay.
A little mini section on.
Okay. Very good. So we'll move forward. So to another map at the Huntington Library. This one is not a forgery. I'll assure you of that in advance. It's also not really what they initially thought it was when they bought it, but it's not a forgery. So it's called the King Hammy map after two of its early owners. It's usually assigned a date of around 1503, so early 16th century. As we'll see, it does show the New World. I've written an article arguing that it actually should be dated to about 1550. I managed to recognize the handwriting of the cartographer, which is Baptista Niese, who was active, about 50 years later. And so the question arises as to why one would make a chart in about 1550 that looks like a chart from about 1503. And the answer is, surprisingly, that in the middle of the 16th century, Baptiste Agnese was making historical maps, that is, maps that showed an earlier understanding of the world's geography. But that's not the aspect of the map that we'll be focusing on. We'll just proceed and see what we see. So here is Europe. This is another manuscript chart based on nautical chart cartography. So here's Europe, Africa, Asia. And if we zoom in on Europe and North Africa, we can see the very, very dense coastal place names that we expect on a nautical chart. Yeah, out in the Atlantic, we see Labrador and Newfoundland, so some of the New World, and Hispaniola and Cuba, and then the coast of South America. And in the east, we have the eastern coast of Asia. And if we zoom in, we can see very little, zero place names actually. But in this case, again, this is not a forgery. This is an attempt to indicate that at that time, very little was known of Eastern Asia. So here we have the Rumline network. Before I said that usually the center point of the Rumline network has no geographical significance, and this is one of the two exceptions to that rule that we'll be looking at. And so why am I saying that? What is the significance of that point off the coast of East Africa? So it's right on the equator. And if we look at a Ptolemaic world map, which as we saw before goes from 0 degrees, the prime meridian, to 180 degrees east. Here is the equator on that map. And here is that center point. So this is at 90 degrees east. So right between 0 degrees, the prime meridian, and 180 degrees east. So in a way, this is sort of, we could call it the center point of the Ptolemaic world. Ptolemy never calls it anything like that. He never says it has any significance, but it is the center point between the east and the west on the equator on a Ptolemaic map. And what seems to be that same point is in the center of this map. It's at the center, it's on the equator, and its centrality is emphasized by the Rumline network. The Rumline network says this is the center. And so that's, let's say, at the very least, a remarkable coincidence that he would make the center of the Rumline network this point off the east coast of Africa that was the center point of the Ptolemaic world in a way, but we'll see that it's not a coincidence, that this was intentional. So if we look at the northern edge of the map, we can see that it's that point right at the upper edge of the map is the North Pole, Polus Arcticus, the Arctic Pole. So it's 90 degrees of latitude between this center point and the northern edge of the map. And at the southern edge of the map, we have the Polus Antarcticus. So the Antarctic Pole, the South Pole, is right at the southern edge of the map. So again, that sort of distance in latitude is 90 degrees. So what that tells us is that sort of the diameter of the circle formed by the Rumline network is 180 degrees, which is exactly the width of the Ptolemaic world. So in a way, the circle of the Rumline network is enclosing more or less the part of the world known in classical antiquity. And we can confirm that by going back to the Ptolemaic world map. We have not one, but sort of two peninsulas at the very eastern edge of the map. And if we go back to the King Hammy map, we see those same two peninsulas at the very eastern edge of this circle. So the Rumline network encloses the world as it was known to the ancients, more or less. I say, which is to say the 180 degrees of longitude of Ptolemy, but it's extended north and south to the poles. So the Ptolemaic world map does not go to the North Pole, does not go to the South Pole. So this is sort of it's the part of the world known in classical antiquity inside that circle, but updated with modern knowledge of the south of Africa, for example. And then outside that circle, we have the new discoveries. And so, again, Ptolemy did not know the southern part of Africa. The southern part of Africa is depicted in the King Hami map. So it's not exactly the world as known to Ptolemy inside that, but it's that part of the world, that 180 degrees of longitude. And so, amazingly, what we have in the King Hami map is something very similar to what we saw on Waldseemüller's 1507 map. Waldseemüller used those two meridians to distinguish the part of the world known in classical antiquity from the new discoveries outside of those two meridians. The creator of the King Hami map uses instead not two meridians, but the run line network to make basically the same distinction. Within it, he includes the 180 degrees of longitude known in classical antiquity, and outside it, the new discoveries. And frankly, I suspect that the maker of the King Hami map was inspired by looking at Waldseemüller's 1507 map in doing this. So we'll end with the Catalanastense map of 1460. So it's a circular world map made about 1460, which is in Modena in the Biblioteca Estense. We see it here. I see we're running out of time, so I'll try and move quickly, but the basic idea that I'm about to convey are really quite simple. So this map combines two different cartographic traditions. We can see the run lines crisscrossing the map, so it's based on nautical charts, but at the same time it has the circular format of a mappa mundi, like you saw in the Hereford map. Just to orient ourselves, here's Europe, Asia, and the Indian Ocean. Here's Africa. And then we have this huge mythical southern extension of Africa. What on earth is that? Well, we'll come back to that and try and explain that momentarily. So, as I said, it's a circular map. There's another circle in this map, which is the circle of the lands. And interestingly, it's not concentric with the sort of framing circle of the map. You can see it's shifted to the east from the center. Why is that? Well, this is a diagram of the Ptolemaic universe from a 14th century manuscript. And it shows the universe is a series of spheres. We have the sphere of the earth at the center. I'll zoom in a little bit. The sphere of the earth at the center, then the water, sphere of the water surrounding the earth, the air, the fire, the moon, and so on, including the planets, which, sounds good on the surface. Of course, it's not true. The earth isn't at the center of the universe and not even at the center of the solar system. But there is a problem with this idea, which is that if the earth is surrounded by the sphere of water, how is there any habitable land? And this problem was realized, and the suggestion was made that the sphere of the earth and the sphere of the water are not concentric. So this image shows the sphere of the earth rising out of the sphere of the water, and that's how we have habitable land, because the two are not concentric. So that's what's being depicted here. The author, the cartographer doesn't explain this, but we find the same thing in other maps, and it's really the only good explanation. The map has another circle, which is the circle of the run line network, which is also not concentric with the other two circles. It's quite remarkable. And this is another exception. In this case, the center point of the run line network is, again, a point of geographical significance. I can show you 100 maps easily on which the center point of the run line network has no geographical significance, but here it does. This point was chosen for a reason. So the point that is the center of the run line network is a center in another way. It's on the center line of the map, and it's on the equator. And this shows us right away that the cartographer didn't center the run line network there by accident. This was intentional, as a way of visually emphasizing that point. So what is at that point? Well, if we zoom in, we can see that we have Prester John there, and this was a mythical Asian or African monarch. His location moved around, who was a Christian. And so he was a great object of interest to Europeans. They wanted to establish an alliance with him to be able to battle Muslims. But the other thing that's right at this point is this city. And the first part of the name is damaged, but it was Civitas, city, Aram. And the city of Aram is a mythical city that appears in Islamic lists of coordinates of places. And this was this city, this mythical city at the center of the world, right on the equator between the eastern and western limits of knowledge. So there is Aran, this mythical Islamic city, which was held to be at the center of the world on the equator, and it's on the equator at the center line of the map. So a little bit of interesting Islamic influence in this map. So the cartographer was very interested in circles. So we have this circle of lands. What's at the center of that? Well, we can draw the two center lines, the perpendicular center lines, and let's zoom in and see what's there. Well, there's a city exactly on that point, and it is Mecca.
Wow.
There is no text. We can see there's descriptive text on right by the city and right by the human figure there. They say not a word about Mecca. They say, well, the text is about Mecca, but it says nothing about it being at the center of the world. There's no other text on the map that says Mecca is at the center of the world. So this means that the map was designed for a sophisticated audience, that was an audience interested in the religious geography of the world, and an audience that was willing to take the time to see, well, what is at the center of the lands? And again, it's a piece of remarkable Islamic influence in this world map. We zoom back out. What is this huge extension of Africa? Well, if we look at the whole map, we can see a certain symmetry. We can see these two large lobes, if you will. The one consisting the one in the north consisting of Europe and Asia, and the one in the south consisting of this huge mythical extension of Africa. And they are both connected to Africa by an isthmus, sort of enhancing this symmetry. And I would argue that the entire function of the southern extension of Africa is to generate the symmetry that places Mecca at the center of the lands. So this is an amazing example of religious geography in a world map. The world was reconfigured to place Mecca at the center of the world. And again, there's no explanation of this on the map. So there's this tiny text here in that southern extension of Africa. It doesn't say anything about this. There's no explanation of this by Mecca. These are important central characteristics about the religious geography embedded in this map that can only be appreciated, only perceived by looking at it slowly and carefully. So again, we have, interestingly, two centers in this map with these three circles. We have these two important centers that the circles highlight. One is the cosmographic center, Aran, and the other is the religious center, Mecca. So I'll wrap up with a few hints for looking slowly at maps in the future. So I hope that these examples have provided some inspiration and hints that maps as very rich objects often contain characteristics that can only be appreciated by looking at them slowly and carefully. So a few hints for doing that. One is to find a theme in the map that interests you, and it can be anything. It can be the depictions of animals. It can be the images of sovereigns. It can be the rum line network. It can be depictions of oceans, the place names, anything at all. But any particular aspect of the map that you find engaging, look at it throughout the map and see what you find. Looking at maps from different angles, including upside down, can be very important, particularly for how the cartographer organizes space. Think about what interests the cartographer. So as Tom has been telling you, maps are not objective documents at all. The interests of the cartographer, whether they're political or economic, are often expressed in the map, and examining ways in which those interests are expressed can be a great way to find those sort of hidden aspects of maps. And also focus on the things that seem strange or out of place or missing. So often what is not depicted can be just as revealing about the map and the cartographer's interest as what is depicted. And one final note, so there's a guy named David Lichtschwager who creates these biocubes. And what he does is he studies everything, every bit of life within this, this 1 cubic foot, which he distinguishes using these metal cubes. And he says everything within it. And he says it's a mechanism to record the abundance or lack thereof of life around you. It's a way of paying attention. And the idea is that instead of trying to take in the whole forest, if you focus your attention on a small part of the forest or a reef, that helps you perceive it in more detail and understand it better. And I haven't done this, but I thought it would be interesting to do something similar on a map, have a small square and take the time to look at everything very carefully within that square, and then try and apply those insights to the whole map. And it could be everything, the colors, the parchment, what it's made of, the material aspects of it, and then the artistic aspects and the cartographic aspects, the place names and so forth. But that focusing on a small part of the map, looking at everything there very carefully, and then trying to expand those insights to the whole map could be very useful. That would be another way of sort of focusing one's attention and looking slowly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chet. That was great. We're out of time here, but so I want to let you go if you want to go. For those of you who are attending the trip tomorrow, I'm going to form a group meet for just the people who are attending, and 5:45 at the Williams Inn tomorrow morning. Right in the shine. Tomorrow morning. Sounds good. Tomorrow morning. Yep. Oh, and if you could share, I'll have you share your phone numbers with me, like text me your phone numbers, and set 2 alarms, please.
Because we're not knocking at everybody's door.
We will leave you. We don't want to leave anyone behind.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah. Bill, thanks for joining.
Yes, that was terrific.
We're gonna do some questions here for anybody who wants to stick around, so hold on just a second. Chet, can you unshare your thing?
Oh, yes. There we go.
Okay.
But we're leaving at 5:45.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve.
Matthew.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. I was curious if we know when like the presence of rung lines on maps kind of faded out, because I feel like up until this class maybe hadn't fully appreciated them or noticed them, but maybe most of the maps that showed us, right, it's whether they're functional or not, they are on the map. But I was just curious when maybe the transition out of using them was, and maybe why that was the case.
Yes, well, I would say late 18th century, and by the 19th century, they become quite uncommon. Simply there were better ways to navigate at the time. That's it, and I think it was also sort of visually crowding on the map, having all those rung lines crisscross everywhere, and the map has a cleaner and, let's say, more scientific appearance without them.
But they did last for a lot longer when they were not for navigational purposes.
Yes.
Than the actual time that they were used for navigation.
Yeah, so tradition was pretty strong.
Yeah. Michael has a question.
Hello. So there's an island that I noticed on many maps about south of where Iran is. That's pretty big, and it's on most maps. That's, to my knowledge, not there. What was that?
I would have to look. So, for example, is this on Waldseemler's 1507 map?
1507 map?
Yes.
Hold on a second, I'll pull it up.
Yes, that. That's one example. That
So
one.
where am I going here? Right here?
Right there. And then I think
This thing?
that's one example. But you know, some people are theorizing that that's Ceylon or Sri Lanka, but down there, if you scroll down to the right, you can see that says Ceylon.
Where? So I need
To
to.
the right.
Right there.
Right there. So
Yeah.
that probably is that. And then maybe you have one more example of a different map.
Which.
So
Like, is there another map you have easily accessible? Maybe that one.
but before we switch though, oh, never mind.
I can stay back. Well, go ahead, Chet.
Well, I was just going to say, so the first of those two islands was Taprobana, which is usually identified with Sri Lanka, and then Ceylon is Ceylon, but there was this great confusion about whether the classical name of Taprobana was really Sri Lanka or Sumatra. And so that confusion is quite remarkable in the early 16th century, and then by about 1550 they finally get it sorted out.
I got it. And then can we just see one more example? I don't know if it's on necessarily this one. What's the third map you have pulled up there?
This guy here?
Yes.
Well, this is the Hereford map.
Hereford.
Oh, that's not it. It's not gonna be out.
Just a second, let's see what else I got here. Oh, this is.
No, it's not there. Well, I mean, kind of under the Horn of Africa.
Under this thing?
Yeah. No, right, just under it.
This is the horn right here, right?
No, the horn is the right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That guy.
This thing. This.
Yeah, that. What's that?
That's just a ribbon, a ribbon that indicates the name of the bay there.
Labeling the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. I should have brought it up when I saw it. I noticed it on at least three maps.
Well, if you find it again, Chet will he'll respond. This is different map.
Too small.
I don't. All right. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna find it here.
Oh, what a shame. Oh well. Thank you so much.
Sure.
See you bright and early.
Good day.
Okay.
Yes.
We got another question here. Yeah.
So I wrote down here.
We're coming back tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we'll be back yes, we're leaving at 6 from New York. We should be back by 10.
I got you.
Yeah.
See.
I wrote down like were those artists and map makers who were making the more like functional maps with run lines that you could actually use and like the detailed coastlines, were those the same in the early 16th century as those who were making like the detailed maps for royalty?
Great question, and the answer is yes. The same cartographers were serving two very different markets, and the sort of skeleton, if you will, of the maps was the same. It was the same coastlines, the same place names, the same run line network. The question was which decorations were added, and you can find different nautical charts made by the same cartographer with varying degrees of decoration. And we get the impression it was a bit like buying a car, and that there was just a blizzard of options. You know, you could get the upgraded engine, the aero package, the leather package, all this stuff. So you could have your images of sovereigns, of animals, of sea monsters, of ships, of images of cities. All that was options that you could, sort of check the box for.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think my big question is, doesn't looking slowly depend on having someone like you or an AI tool to educate us?
Well, that's the point of this workshop is to point out the value of doing so, and then give some hints about what it can generate, and then some tips at the end about how to do it oneself. So I think if no one tells you, if no one shows you what it can reveal, then why would one bother? So this is, go ahead.
Well, I have been encouraging the students to use an AI tool, like to. And I also think, I think in hope, I guess maybe it's hope, but I also, I guess I think that the line drawings for maps that distill it into, and we see this for a lot of Islamic maps, like this is, or we actually, we have here, I'll show you one that I got for the Hereford map. I think these things are incredibly valuable. And they also allow you to ask a tool more easily, like, what the heck is going on here? Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Um, uh, uh, I have an exhibit, um, just about. Your featured your chat. So this one. I don't know who did this, but it's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I hadn't seen that one. That is good.
and so this is, right, this is this map, but
Yeah.
summarized. The other thing
Yeah.
that we looked at, I don't know if you've seen this site, but they do a pretty good job of, offering you ways to dip in, but that doesn't, it's not that's different from just looking at it and then asking questions about it.
Yeah.
We did, I had a good conversation with a couple of students, one of whom said, I have my professors who, like, they want to teach me something, and so they show me, 100 examples, and they're like 30 seconds a piece. And his point to me was, look, I think it's more impactful if you just, show me 3 and let me go deep on those. And that's what we did today, and I think it was better. I don't know, you agree with that?
We got to really dive into like what to look at, what to look for, and now I can like reference those as opposed to just going like through really quickly. I may not actually absorb this one. Yeah.
But it's hard for me. I mean, I'm a cataloger. I love to, know the universe. So I think that worked out well. And I think frankly, Chet, what you shared today was sort of right on with what we've been, the way that we reoriented ourselves.
Perfect.
So, did you have any questions or comments or anything, Chet?
I think I'm good for where are you guys going tomorrow?
We are going to New York. We're going to the New York Public Library for to see 7 maps of New York. And then we're going to Urban Carto. It's a gentleman who makes maps for developers. Maps for developers using historical records. Developer wants to build something and they need a map. It's a lawyer who became more of a map maker. And then we're going to see. Actually, here, hold on. I'll show you. I'm giving a talk next Tuesday about my class in 6 minutes, and I have a picture up here of, let's see. This is our New York trip last year. This is the public library. I can't remember the name of this map, but and then this is this real estate broker. This is his map of Manhattan, every single parcel, and they're color coded, I think, by like air rights. Because they're trying to accumulate air rights for clients. So that's our 3rd stop. And then our 4th stop is a Raider. Raider Galleries. Yeah.
Great.
So that's it.
Should be fun.
That's the trip, yeah. Hopefully everybody's safe and sound. All right, Chet, thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Do I owe something to Benoit? I saw an email from him about a TV. I think.
Not yet. I think he's going to write back to both of us.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see. Hopefully there's something there this time.
We have somebody presenting to us next Wednesday, I believe. Or it's
Okay.
Tuesday. It's Wednesday. Tuesday is Susan Schulten, Wednesday's Linda, and Thursday is Michael Rappaport.
Yeah.
Islamic maps.
Good.
So
Very good.
It's been great. Yesterday we had Daniel Crouch, and the day before that we had David Rumsey. So it's been
Wonderful.
a good session so far.
Great.
That was interesting. And like you had a big reveal and you did it really well on the forged maps because that got everybody's attention.
Yeah.
That I really like the way you set us up. But that's fine. I really enjoyed that. So thank you.
Very good.
All right, Chet.
All right, take care.
Yeah,
Good
thanks
luck.
again. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.